We will now hear introductions beginning on my right, starting with Miracle. If you all will give us brief introductions of who you are.
Greetings, everyone. I am Miracle Latinji, a junior honors psychology major at the illustrious Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University. I'd like to thank God for this opportunity and everyone who has made this opportunity possible. Thank you.
Greetings and good morning. I am Chance Williams, an honors junior computer science major with a concentration in artificial intelligence, hailing from the DMV. Yeah, y'all know. I have the pleasure on campus of serving as president of the first and only HBCU VEX robotics team, as well as co-captain of the Honors Speech and Debate League. Thank you all for having me.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Destiny Irving, and I am a graduating senior psychology major at the Tennessee State University. I serve as the interp captain for my speech and debate team, and I hail all the way from Hazelhurst, Mississippi. So I'm really excited to be here and have this opportunity. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am Jared Howell, a graduating senior, hailing all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. Today, I'm proudly representing Tennessee State University. Just thank you all for being here. I'm really excited. I'm really appreciative. So let's get this debate going.
All right. You heard the debaters. They are ready to get it going. The resolution for today is the House believes that the impact of AI on Gen Z and Gen Alpha will have an adverse effect on their economic landscape. The speaking orders and times for this debate are the Prime Minister Constructive will take 7 minutes. The Leader of Opposition Constructive will take 8 minutes. The Member of Government Constructive will take 8 minutes. The Member of Opposition Constructive, 8 minutes. Leader of Opposition Rebuttal, 4 minutes. Prime Minister rebuttal, 5 minutes. Points of information are allowed during constructive speeches. Please be respectful to all of our debaters, judges, and guests by holding applause until the round is complete. So with that, we will begin our debate. Students, I understand that you all will keep your own time. Is that right? All right, sounds good. Judges, are you all ready as well? All right, I'm stepping aside and letting these debaters take it over. Okay, thank you.
All right. Everybody can hear me all right? Awesome. All right, we begin in 3, 2, 1. I want to tell you the story of Alexis Humphreys, a 28-year-old girl from Boxtown, Memphis, a small majority Black town with a median income of just $37,000. In June, Alexis suffered her first asthma attack in 15 years. This was caused by breathing the fumes of 35 unpermitted gas turbines powering the CEO of X's new AI data center. Now, Alexis and her neighbors face impossible choices. Inhalers instead of tuition, doctor's visits instead of savings, paying X's utility bills instead of buying food. For them, AI is not a shiny tool for the future. It is a debt they never chose and a burden they cannot escape. Today, we affirm the resolution. The House believes the impact of AI on Gen Z and Gen Alpha will have an adverse effect on their economic landscape and will prove it in 3 ways. First, unprecedented job displacement. Second, deepening inequality. And third, environmental injustice. To make sure we're debating clearly, let me define our terms. Artificial intelligence is defined by Harvard Business Review as technologies that perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence. Gen Z and Gen Alpha is identified by Pew Research Center as those born between 1997, such as Alexis, in 2012 for Gen Z, and Gen Alpha as those born from 2013 onward. Economic landscape. Harvard's Department of Economics describes this phrase as the overall structure and conditions of employment, income, cost, and wealth distribution within a society. To put this simply, it means the jobs available, the wages earned, the opportunities accessible, and the cost faced. So when we affirm this resolution, we are affirming that artificial intelligence will cause harmful changes to the jobs, wages, opportunities, and cost that define the economic future of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Our first argument, unprecedented job displacement. Unlike past revolutions, AI isn't coming for one type of career, it's coming for them all. Your first jobs, retail and food service roles, the stepping stones for young workers are being erased by kiosks and robots. The Canaries in the Coal Mine study done by Stanford just last month found that employment among 22 to 25-year-olds in AI-exposed occupations has fallen by nearly 13%, which may sound small, but that's over 900,000 Gen Z starter jobs gone. Your dream jobs. Imagine a teen who dreams of being a paralegal, helping lawyers build cases, draft documents, learn the ropes. But now generative AI can draft legal briefs, summarize memos, and do large chunks of legal research, stuff a paralegal entry role used to do. In fact, according to Thomas Reuters, 59% of lawyers report that AI already helps draft briefs or memos in practice today. For the first time in history, both the bottom rungs of the job ladder and the top floors are collapsing in on each other. A whole generation faces economic precarity with nowhere stable to climb. Our second argument, deepening inequality and wealth concentration. Even when AI creates wealth, it doesn't flow to Gen Z and it doesn't flow to Gen Alpha. It flows up and out of reach. The profits are concentrated. AI requires immense capital, chips, data centers, cloud infrastructure. Only a handful of corporations can compete. The IMF in 2024 explicitly warns that AI will worsen inequality unless governments intervene. The benefits are screwed. The World Economic Forum in 2025 admits productivity gains will largely accrue to the top 1%, not to the average workers. Meanwhile, costs for housing, education, and healthcare climb relentlessly. Gen Z and Alpha are locked out of prosperity. They will spend more on essentials while earning less relative to the top. We are watching the AI boom become their bust. And finally, argument 3, the environmental injustice of AI infrastructure. Let's go back to Alexis and her small town of Boxtown, Memphis. The economic harm of AI isn't abstract. It's physical, it's local, and it's targeted, falling hardest on the very communities Gen Z and Alpha grow up in. AI data centers are disproportionately built in low-income and minority neighborhoods. AP News reported in 2025 that the NAACP is suing XAI over its Memphis facility, which emits pollutants into a majority Black neighborhood with a median income of just $37,000. Money that should be going to school supplies, food, and savings, but is now being rerouted into medical bills for asthma and pollution-related illness. And the economic burden isn't just medical, it is financial. Less than 15 miles from where we sit today in Birmingham, residents of Bessemer, Alabama, are actively fighting against a proposed $14.5 billion data center. Why? Because it will consume 2 million gallons of water a day. That's 1/3 of the local utilities capacity. And 1,200 megawatts of power, 10% of Alabama's entire electricity grid. That translates to higher bills for every household in the area. Gen Z and Gen Alpha in these neighborhoods pay twice, once with their health and again with their wallets. The economic landscape is poisoned literally and financially by the infrastructure AI requires. We are not asking you to fear the future. We are asking you to face it. And please remember the burden in this debate. The oppositions must not only negate every fact we have presented, but also lull you into believing that AI is some kind of economic savior for these generations. Will you fall for their fallacies? Their optimism is speculation. Our case is reality. You see, the difference between our data and the opposition's is uncertainty. ITR economics data says that any change to AI can make their argument completely irrelevant, whilst our data is from what already is. AI is not their opportunity, it is their burden. It will not build them a better economy, it will rob them of one. For these reasons, unprecedented job displacement, deepening inequality, and environmental injustice, we know AI will have an adverse effect on the economic landscape of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And we are not here to merely persuade you of that, We are here to declare it as fact. Thank you.
Situated. Ooh, I don't like that. All right, can y'all hear me all right? All righty. Well, without delay, judges, are we ready to proceed? All right, opponents as well. Partner. All right, without delay, I'm going to go ahead and start my time now. First, a blanket of gratitude to everyone in the room. I absolutely thank you all for the opportunity to have this debate, because without you all, it would not be possible. As a reminder, judges, today we are debating the following resolution. The House believes that the impact of AI on Gen Z and Gen Alpha will have an adverse effect on their economic landscape. And so that I argue in negation for several reasons. So just to give you a roadmap for how we're going to go throughout today's debate, I'm going to start by addressing framework or the lack thereof, and then we'll move throughout some contentions and directly cross-apply to everything that was stated by the affirmative today. So when we started off the debate, we had a really good story, and we talked about a lot of definitions. One definition I'd like to add some clarity to is economic landscape, because the affirmative would lead you to believe that economic landscape is solely based on the dollar, and it's not. Economic landscape is everything that influences the dollar, the impact of that dollar. So trade, policies, location of industries, not just where the money itself is going, but what influences that money. And our arguments will reflect why that's such an important clarification. Additionally, a bit of framework was missing from today's debate that was dropped by the affirmative, so we'll try to add that to help provide clarity moving forward. We suggest a weighing mechanism of cost-benefit analysis, which simply means that we're going to weigh the benefits and the harms and see which one weighs heavier on a magnitude perspective. We also actually value equitable access. Again, equitable access, looking at trying to see how we can improve these situations and how AI helps people, specifically making up for those disadvantaged communities. So the affirmative started their case with job displacement, discussing how AI is just essentially taking our jobs, making it harder for Gen Z and Gen Alpha to enter the workforce. But we have direct refutes for that. While AI automates certain tasks, it simultaneously generates entirely new roles in industries, many of which are suited for younger generations. So, according to the World Economic Forum in 2025, AI could eliminate 92 million jobs while creating 170 million new ones. Judges, this is a net increase of 78 million jobs being created solely because of artificial intelligence. This is no adverse effect. This is a benefit to society. Further, AI-assisted roles are growing, and they've grown 65% year over year, specifically referencing entry-level, flexible, ideal roles for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. This is according to LinkedIn on 2025. AI is directly creating new and in-demand roles, such as prompt engineers, AI ethicists, AI literacy trainers, and specialists in health tech and financial analysts, according to the New York Times in 2025. Just all these sources are going to say that not only is it creating jobs, they're for Gen Z, they're for Gen Alpha, they're new, they're innovative, and this is simply the future. So this is not necessarily an adverse effect. These are all benefits for society. Additionally, I like to cross-apply productivity. Productivity simply speaks that AI increases productivity and wage potential for those of us who adopt it, especially us young workers. Firms using AI report a growth of 15 to 20% for productivity. Employees who leverage AI are effectively seeing wage growth outpacing their peers. Again, outpacing their peers, meaning that when you use artificial intelligence, you are growing at a faster rate and making more money and in better situations than you would to ignore it. So let's not demonize AI today. Let's not make it seem like AI is the big bad wolf that it's going to make sure that we just do nothing and it's going to rob us of our brain power. No, it is a tool that gives us a fair fight. Additionally, when they had their conversation about deepening inequalities, I found that very important because we have a contention that, again, directly cross applies to their second point, competitive advantage. AI allows access to high quality tools and expertise, allowing young people to compete with larger players without large upfront capital, according to Oxford Academic of 2025. So generative AI allows anyone to produce professional grade content, marketing, or code without full team of expensive resources, according to Brookings. There's several examples that we could give here today, but the point is that artificial intelligence allows people that look like us to have access to information, have access to resources and tools that without it, we've never had access to. And that's the difference that it makes. So we understand that there may be a few concerns about deepening inequalities, but when you look critically at today's debate, we understand that it actually creates that equitable access and gives us another revenue or another avenue to pursue these situations. Further, AI enhances learning and upskilling, giving Gen Z and Gen Alpha a competitive advantage. It's put very well by Carolyn Stokes, a leadership strategist and author, who says it's not just an upskill, it's a reinvention. So what we're saying today is that it's not simply transferring skills. It's not simply eliminating jobs and replacing it with the technology. No, we're reinventing how we do things. This is the same as the internet. This is the same as machines. This is the same as shifting from agriculture. It's that big of a shift. So to call this negative when we understand that this literally changes how we do our day-to-day life and work is trivial. Moving further, we have a conversation about policy interventions, because in our opponent's speech, they mentioned that unless the government has some plans to intervene, AI is just a detriment. Well, thankfully, the government seems to already be headed on the right track. Even where AI displaces some roles, strategic policies can ensure positive outcomes for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So things like broadband expansion, AI literacy programs, and subsidized coding boot camps all are options to help level the playing field for people that look like me and you. Additionally, countries and states investing in AI education and infrastructure are seeing higher youth employment rates in emerging tech sectors, according to the FCC and Brookings of 2023 and 2024. So all of these points are going to say that, again, investing into artificial intelligence instead of running away from it is absolutely the way to go. The government is supporting it. Companies are supporting it. The youth are engaged in it. It's the way to go. So running from it is absolutely a mistake here. And then last, the environmental harm that we have today absolutely must be addressed. And specifically because I'm from Memphis. I know all about Boxtown. I know all about XAI. But what we also must recognize is that the headlines are not necessarily accurate representations of what's going on, because the magnitude of AI's impact on our environment is significantly smaller than you've been led to believe. First, AI uses energy, but a small and shrinking percent in comparison to other digital infrastructure. So a 2024 Standard AI Index report found that AI accounted for less than 1% of global data center energy use, while video streaming, gaming, and crypto mining use far more. So what this all goes to say is that AI is not this big bad wolf. There are other things doing significantly more.
Point of information.
Damage. Yes.
So do you acknowledge that the AI data centers do raise local utility bills?
I mean, yes, but again, cost benefit analysis. Are we looking at creating equitable access or spending money? I think the value of that access is significant. Additionally, trends of improvement. AI's energy intensity per task is rapidly declining. Google reports that data centers are 1.5 times as efficient as a typical data center, running on 64% renewable energy now and moving to 100% carbon-free by 2030. All of this goes to say these are examples of how artificial intelligence is actually benefiting our society and not an adverse effect. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. I am Miracle Latinji. And when people were introducing themselves, I realized they said where they were from, but I didn't say where I was from. I'm from Nigeria. All right, we're going to begin now. Honorable judges, esteemed opponents, and everyone listening, I need you to take a look around this room and imagine every young person here is competing, but this time, not against ourselves, with a machine that never sleeps, never eats, and never asks for a paycheck. That's the economy AI is building. And no matter how hard Gen Z or Gen Alpha works, no matter how talented they are, machines do not get tired. Humans do. You see, this is not a competition. It's a slaughter. My partner has already shown you the immediate harms and flaws in my opposition argument. But today, I would deepen the case by proving our three connected truths remains unflawed. One, AI brings unprecedented job displacements. And something worse, it provides permanent exclusion from the workforce. Two, AI deepens inequality and concentrates wealth. And even worse, it cements generational poverty. Three, AI creates environmental injustice. But the interesting thing is, this injustice is coming home, hitting places like Birmingham and cities across America. There were a few important points the opposition mentioned, which I'd like to quickly address. One, what influences the policy? Two, the cost benefit. And three, analysis of equitable access. But let's get serious. Who makes the policies? Who writes the rules? Who gains those very jobs you speak about? The very people already casting the biggest paychecks from AI. Think about it. The celebrated new AI jobs is the prompt engineer. He mentioned the jobs. I don't have to go over that again.
Point of information.
Yeah.
You had said that who makes those policies? Who makes AI?
The very people that make AI are the very people that are going to regulate the policies. And that's the exact point I was trying to make. Thank you. The people who create AI are the people who are in charge and close to the people who make the policies. If the very people gaining from the creation of AI are the people in charge of the policies, do you think you're going to get a fair policy that regulates the platform they make their biggest paychecks from? Now to my point. Who gets the jobs? It's not the 19-year-old cashier whose job just got replaced by a kiosk. We have college students in the room. If you're a college student in the room and you actively work on campus, I need you to raise your hands. How many of these hands have jobs that are AI created? How many of your jobs are related to AI? Can you raise your hand? One person. One person. And that's a clear representation of what is happening here. The very people who get the benefit from AI are the people that are not in the generation we are talking about, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And that is the burden of the resolution. That it's going to create a worse economic landscape for the very generation we are talking about, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, not the very people making the most paychecks from this platform. Now, to our point, unprecedented job displacement. The opposition may argue new jobs will appear. But as I said, jobs do not magically reach the 19-year-old with no coding experience. And you might say it's as easy as people going to get coding experience. What about the theater kids who have no interest in computer science? What about the psychology major who has dreams of impacting a family, of changing lives, that has no use of AI? Yes, they can implement AI in their jobs or anything, but that is not what changes a family. That is not what cures trauma. That is not what heals trauma. So what happens to those people? What happens to the cleaners? What happens to the people who served our foods today? What happened to those people paychecks? What happens to your grandma whose career was being a nanny? What happens to those people? Do we consider those people irrelevant? Do you consider your nannies irrelevant? Do you consider your cleaners irrelevant? Maybe that's something we need to think about. The opposition says AI would help creativity, but MIT just ran a study that says students who wrote with AI had weaker brain activity and couldn't even remember what they wrote. Let me bring in the numbers. 83% of them couldn't recall their own words. That's not creativity, that's outsourcing your brain. And that's dangerous because true creativity, the very kind that gave us writers like Shakespeare or inventors like the Wright brothers, come from struggle, from pushing through the hard work of thinking. Shakespeare didn't have AI, and that's why his voice was one of a kind. But if Gen Z and Gen Alpha grow up learning and relying on AI for every essay, every video, every song idea, instead of the one of a kind, we become copy of a copy. So no, AI doesn't give us more creativity, it robs us of it. The penny games today wasn't something birthed by some algorithm. It came from a human being sitting down, feeling empathy and asking, what can I create that serves the people? Now, the opposition will tell you anyone with Wi-Fi can do that. But what happens to the very art of thinking, of struggling, of imagining new solutions? For centuries, humans dreamed of flying. We wrote myths like Icarus and designed sketches. We tied wings to our arms and leapt. And yes, we failed 1,000 times. But from those dangerous, daring struggles came airplanes, something AI could never think of without human intervention. 2, deepening inequality. The opposition says AI distributes wealth, but the data proves otherwise. The IMF 2024 warns, without intervention, AI will widen inequality. I already proved no one is going to intervene when they make the biggest paycheck from this. Let's be real. And we already see it. Profits from trillion-dollar AI investment, they flow to Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Google, not young workers, not young Joe like you and I. Gen Z and Gen Alpha, do you want to know what we inherit? Do you want to know? We inherit debt crisis, inflated rents, rising tuition, vanishing jobs, and health problems. Meanwhile, AI consolidates wealth to the top. This is not just inequality, it's an economic exile. 3, environmental injustice. And even if you survive the job loss, inequality strikes again. Every ChatGPT conversation, every magical moment leads to cities like Birmingham being exploited. Why? Cheap land, existing industrial grids, and struggling communities, least equipped to fight back. So, honorable judges, voting against this resolution is not neutral. It is condemning Gen Z and Alpha to a future already under attack. Thank you.
Good morning. Hi. So first, I will give you a brief off-time framework. First, I would like to clarify something for the judges today before going through some quick rebuttals of my opponent's case before finally clarifying some things for my case. And with that, I will start my time now. See, our opponent, they make really beautiful stories, really heartfelt and like that really pulls on your heartstrings. However, we're here to talk about hard facts and statistics. Now, one thing I want to point out is that, one thing that I would like to point out is that humans actually have more of an impact on AI than AI has on humans. For every problem that AI poses, it can also be used to fix it. So, when my opponent says the people who make AI make the policies, first off, tech companies make AI. Governments make policies. Tech companies and governments are not always the same thing. They're not synonymous. My opponent also asks things like, what happens to the people who lose jobs? They adopt AI literacy. There are programs out there that focus on underserved communities, meaning people that would usually not gain access. They now have access to learning about AI and the tools to do it. For example, when my partner brought up broadband expansion, AI literacy programs, and the subsidized coding boot camps, Georgia State University has an Operation Hope, that offers AI literacy programs, boot camps, hands-on prototyping, mentorships, and develops a K-12 college pipeline for underserved youth.
Point of interest. So what happens to the people who have no interest in AI? Like what happens to people who do not want to go into AI, who want to go into more creative fields?
Do you know that most of Gen Z is actually leaning towards more STEM-related fields? That the STEM-related fields are actually increasing because of Gen Z?
But what happens to the people who do not want to go into STEM-related fields?
They can still pursue what they want to pursue, because even though my opponent said that we are now competing with AI, like artists are now competing with AI, true artists will know how to outpace AI. True artists are competing with other humans already every day. AI is meant to simulate humans, so that any errors that you see in AI is because a human programmed that error in there. So how do you fix that? Humans have to fix the problem. So any adverse effect on the economic landscape due to AI is not AI's fault. It is the fault of humans. So I want to go ahead and further my case by explaining how all the harms that are caused by AI can be also fixed by AI. Job displacement, for example. Now the affirmative will have you believe that our evidence is speculative. However, over the next 3 years, 92% of companies plan to increase their AI investments. These are planned budgets. So over the next 3 years, 92% of companies are going to need AI-generated roles. So that means that these new entry-level jobs are guaranteed to be created. Historically, new technologies cause short-term disruption, but long-term net employment growth. This is historic. We are talking about trends that have actually already happened. So the job displacement point falls through. Now, next we have the inequality wealth concentration gap. When my opponent is talking about what is supposed to happen to these people that lose their jobs, the market is shifting. You have to pick up new skills. Just like during the Industrial Revolution, when we shifted from agriculture to industry, people had to pick up new skills. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. It's just progress. What we are valuing here is progress and equitable access.
Point of interest. Just a
This
curious
is your
question.
second of 2 questions, by the way.
Just 2 questions. This is
Okay.
the second question.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, have you seen those creative AI vlogs on TikTok or AI mukbang videos? What will you say to the fact that AI is now in the creative space and creates interesting vlogs that people watch and send around? What happens to the creative space then?
The creative space can be, what happens to the creative space is that now people have to fact check what they look on the internet. They have to also, there are also AI detection tools. Like you can detect when something is AI. People, she brought up TikTok, even though that's not a real source, but like, even though if you go on TikTok, you know when something is AI. You can look at a TikTok video and like, oh no, that's definitely AI. I don't trust that. And it's a known thing because AI is a part of our everyday lives. We are a digitally native generation. AI is meant to be for us. So next, I want to talk about the inequality in wealth. Again, we're talking about the competitive advantage. AI levels the playing field for small players. It even lowers the barriers for it even lowers barriers and costs for entrepreneurship. It gives younger generations productivity multipliers that past generations didn't have, lowering startup costs and barriers. It allows people access to vendor research and supplier costs. AI tools that scan markets or compare suppliers, flag better pricing vendors, helped a client save over $9,000 a year. AI is saving people money. AI is saving people money and reducing upfront capital needed for external services like freelance writers, legal firms, and vendor work. This increases our productivity. And if our productivity is increased, so is our GDP. And what does that mean? Our trade is increased. Everything around our economic basis is increased because of productivity. So next, I want to go into something that actually the affirmative has not touched on: environmental harms. So when we say environmental harms, we're saying that, okay, AI causes pollution. However, Like my opponent says, according to Stanford AI Index report, AI accounted for less than 1% of global data center energy use, while video gaming and crypto mining use far more. So if anything has an adverse effect on your your environmental landscape, it's not AI's fault. Even if you eliminate AI, that's only eliminating 1% of the problem. And even so, we see that there are trends of improvement across AI. Like my opponent said, the intensity per task is rapidly declining. Also, it's being implemented across industries. AI balances electricity demand and supply, integrates renewables more effectively, and reduces wasted energy. It improves solar and wind forecasting, reducing reliance on backups. It fuels used by optimizing shipping, trucking, and travel routes. Actually, AI is even being used in agriculture. AI-driven farming reduces fertilizer, water, and pesticide use. So I want to do a brief thing and to do my affirmative case for a second. Even with privacy harms, any privacy harms that AI presents can be reduced with AI. So, like, for example, in 1 year, AI helped U.S. federal agencies catch $1 billion in fraud. So I just want to say, like humans, AI has the capabilities to cause problems and to solve them. And what AI does with these problems is up to humans. We are responsible. Don't let today's resolution reduce your accountability. Thank you.
All right, everyone, judges ready? Opponents ready as well? Partner ready? All right, without delay, we're gonna go ahead and get into this round starting now. Judges, my partner just did an excellent job of cross applying a lot of points, again, dragging the negative points throughout this debate. My job today will be to give you the voters. I will give you every single reason why the negative has undisputedly won today's debate. First, I'd like to start by just saying my opponents are indeed excellent speakers and performers, but this performance element cannot outweigh the facts and statistics of today's debate. So as we go throughout this flow, I want you to keep those things in mind. First, the reason that we have won today's debate is the affirmative burden was dropped. So the affirmative's job is to provide definitions, framework, scope, scale, all of these things to provide the groundwork for today's debate. We've already had to clarify some definitions. We've already had to suggest a weighing mechanism that was omitted from the affirmative case. And then on top of that, none of our points have been disputed. While we got responses, none of our facts or statistics were contested nor disputed because they are true. And I want you to consider that in your judgment today. For the second reason, the negative burden was absolutely upheld, and let me show you how. When the affirmative said, oh, job displacement, we're losing jobs and they're not going to Gen Z and AI, and they're not going to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, we responded by saying AI creates 78 million jobs. That's undisputed. It's a fact. Additionally, AI increases productivity. It's undisputed. It's a fact. AI creates equitable access. It's undisputed. It's a fact. Policy interventions, as my partner went into detail, already exist. The issue is not even with the technology of artificial intelligence, it's the people wanting to manipulate and use it. They mentioned who creates AI, who uses AI, how do they misuse AI? That's all human error. None of those issues are the technology itself because the technology is the answer. Additionally, the environmental impact is minimal. Again, less than 1% of the global impact across the world. AI is increasing renewable energy use that's used in our first speech. The GDP is improving because of artificial intelligence and it's lowering barriers and access. I want to remind you the value of today's debate was equitable access, looking at trying to make this a fair situation for people who are less fortunate and disadvantaged. That's exactly what artificial intelligence does, and that's what we're proving today as the negation. Additionally, preponderance of evidence is another reason that the negation has won today's debate. Every single point has been supported by at least 2 to 3 credible sources, not TikToks, not stories, actual credential states of statistics and evidence. Additionally, argumentation. We've been able to clearly convey our points from start to finish, threading each response throughout today's debate. flowing to the negation. With my last minute, I'd really like to hone in on the fact AI is inevitable. My partner gave a statistic that 92% of companies are pledging to shift towards artificial intelligence. So demonizing this technology is trivial, it's irresponsible. Implementation versus technology. We're arguing today that the issue is not with the technology itself. The issue is with the people who use it. And as long as we continue to use these policy interventions that regulate, that better steer, and that continue to improve as we're already on the track to do, we'll be in a much better situation. So again, demonizing AI is a one-way street to falling behind. It is absolutely negligent and irresponsible to avoid it. All of the adverse effects listed are issues of human actions and implementation and not the technology. So judges and audience, if you take nothing from today's debate, I hope that you genuinely understand the benefits that artificial intelligence brings to this world, because it is the future. It is the thing that is going to absolutely affect Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And if you agree with anything I've said today, vote neg. Thank you.
All right. Opponents ready? Judges ready? Awesome. Let's end off with a bang. I want to start by addressing some things my opponent clearly missed and why their argument was flawed from the moment they took the stage. They brought up cost-benefit analysis, but that only works if both sides of the scales are weighted equally. But you can't weigh a hypothetical job in 2035 against a 2025 kid in Memphis paying medical bills today. Their whole side is a guess. Ours is reality. The opposition says Google reports AI data centers don't produce that much pollution. Of course Google will report that. Google has AI data centers. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs, MIT, and the IEA report AI data centers use 165% more resources than other cities and produce 10 times more pollution. And clearly the opposition doesn't understand what AI really is. So as a computer science major with a concentration in AI, allow me to explain it to you. AI is at the point where it no longer needs us. They say it takes our training data, and that was true from the beginning. We're not at that point anymore. It no longer requires our input. So what happens when AI can create AI? Their argument falters because it looks long-term, assuming AI needs us. And the truth is, it doesn't. AI will create jobs temporarily, but AI varies from other revolutions in another way. People created electricity, like they mentioned. People coded the internet. And yes, people did code AI. But we've seen AI now. ChatGPT can create other large language models. Honorable judges, this is the last word and the declaration of your clearest choice. The opposition wants you to walk out of this round believing in a fantasy that AI is some magic escalator lifting Gen Z and Gen Alpha to prosperity. But every piece of evidence shows the opposite. AI is an economic trap. This debate is not about what could happen, what they envision happening. It's about what is happening right now. And when you strip away their speculation, their projections, nothing remains. They boasted about the job creations, but projections are not paychecks. As presented earlier, the Stanford study shows what's already here: 900,000 entry-level jobs gone. They mentioned that we're supposed to be able to shift into the AI fields. How is an artist that couldn't compete with Canva AI supposed to become a data scientist? And who gets the jobs they promise? These go to high-skill, elite trained workers, not the average 19-year-old in Birmingham. Their numbers are empty without access. They say Gen Z are digital natives. Judges, being able to make a TikTok does not make me a data scientist. Familiarity with tools doesn't erase structural barriers. The World Economic Forum warns of constant reskilling demands, but access to reskilling depends on money, time, and privilege. The opposition sells adaptability as destiny, as fate, as you must do it or you'll be left behind. The truth is, adaptability without access equals inequality. They told you about teenagers being able to do anything. To start a business, all they need is Wi-Fi and AI. Is that story inspiring? Absolutely. Is it representative of what is? Absolutely not. For every one of these stories, there are thousands of people in Memphis or any of the other locations with AI data centers breathing toxic fumes because of data centers. Or the families in Bessemer that will be staring down higher utility bills from a facility that will consume 2 million gallons of water a day and 10% of Alabama's electricity grid. Their wealth creation is the exception. Our economic devastation is the rule. So what do you weigh today? On their side, projections, hypotheticals, motivational posters. On our side, lawsuits in Memphis, protests in Bessemer, Stanford's 13% job loss data, and inequality already widening. Their side asks you to believe. Our side asks you to look. Judges, the burden of the opposition was to negate every point we've shown you. They could not. Instead, they offered dreams of future jobs while ignoring the families bankrupted today. They promised equal opportunity while overlooking inequality already deepening. They praised adaptability while skipping over who gets left behind. Will you let optimism erase evidence? Will you let speculation outweigh reality? AI is not the foundation for Gen Z and Gen Alpha's prosperity. It is the bulldozer taking it away. And for that reason, we affirm the resolution. Thank you.
Let's give all of our debaters another round of applause. Phenomenal job to all, and I am so glad that I am an MC and not a judge. Judges, if you all will step into the hallway so that you all can deliberate, you all have about 5 minutes or so to make that deliberation. If you need less time, take it. If you need more time, try not to. But take the time that you need. Do step into the hallway to deliberate in hushed voices away from these doors. And I would like to once again thank all of our sponsors who made today possible. That includes Miles College, Birmingham City Schools, the City of Birmingham Department of Youth Services, Jefferson County, Impact America, Speak First, Community Foundation, and that's the gaming organization, Urban Impact Birmingham, Blue Gyra, Protective, Brassfield and Gorey, and all of our community partners. Thank you for making an incredible difference and for helping make sure that today's event is possible and our students have a space to continue deliberating and showing all of their expertise. I would like to specifically acknowledge three Penny Foundation board members that I see in the room. That's Julian, Board Chair CJ, and Martina. Thank you all for being here and for your strong support here. And I've also been instructed to bring up the Penny Foundation founder, Lord Watson Jr., because he is going to give us some additional information. And once again, I do really applaud everyone who was at the stage. And if you all can imagine, at every level of this competition, excellence was present. And so you are seeing 4 students, but all of the students that participated throughout this presentation and through this debate tournament were presenting at this incredible level. So we really appreciate you all. We really think it is absolutely amazing. And Lord Watson Jr., if you'll come up and give some additional remarks on behalf of the Penny Foundation.
So I wanted to take this opportunity just to remind us of some of the other activities and things that's happened. So this is the debate final on last night. We had a great time at Topgolf, where we had the finals for the gaming competition. Nope, I didn't say that right. The proper phrase is esports. Thank you. Yep, they've been correcting me all weekend. Esports. So, just want to remind, so all of those who participated in the esports portion of the tournament, if you all just please stand so we can be recognized. Thank you. Thank you for coming. It's on first place, Peter Agu. I believe Peter is from, if I'm remembering correctly, Texas Southern. Oh, okay. All right. Second place, Travis Gordon. Yeah. And Travis, what college are you from again? Is Travis to you? Savannah State. Okay, Savannah State. Third place was Brennan Bunch. Again from Texas Southern. And so those were our top winners. Thank you all. So yeah, man, this whole topic, it really touched home. This is a big topic, a big discussion here locally, and so I'm excited to hear the judges' results. And I want to thank you all again. Let's give the debaters another round of applause. Put it in the hands of the judges. Thank you.
All right. Well, before I announce the decision, obviously, first, fabulous debate. Y'all did a great job of presenting why y'all deserve to be up on that stage. The second thing I'll say is we did not collaborate on our decision. I will make that very clear. We stepped outside and we all made independent, autonomous decisions. There was no collaboration. This was not a cabal. We all three wrote individual ballots based on our own beliefs, but the decision was a unanimous decision for Alabama A&M. Congratulations. I'll say a brief sentence about why I voted the way I did. I just thought they did a better job presenting the immediacy of their impacts and casting speculation into who would be writing sort of the policies and who would be writing sort of the regulations and how those would most likely continue to flow wealth upward instead of downward and lock out future generations from accessing some of the benefits that the con side presented. But overall, and I thought they might have been slightly ahead on some of the environmental financial impacts, not necessarily about energy usage per se in a global macro sense, but rather how it does affect things like utility bills, water bills, et cetera, which are sort of beyond the scope of just raw energy consumption. But again, a fabulous debate, and I had to wait for the final sentences of the final speech to decide how I wanted to vote, which, you know, is kudos to a good debate.
Well, I wanted to say this, that for me to be a first-time judge, I thought both of you all, as you represented your universities very well. And I do want to say that I was listening very intensely, and it was largely because the data center falls within Jefferson County. And so we've been having to go back and forth between the public's view of what this data center will bring versus not. So that I was listening for that. I will tell you, one of the defining moments for me, or defining decisions, was based upon your ability to captivate me to think beyond what is actually presented. And that's what I was looking for on you all's end. I thought that what you were able to do is to give me impact, but in the future, give me connectivity. Because if you can connect me, I'll hear all your facts. And that's what they had a strength in to me, is that they had the ability to connect, attract rather, and then connect, and use that connection to continue on with making their points. Does that make sense? But you all did an absolute great job. And I hope you could, well, you won't be back because you're seniors, right? And you're a senior. Junior, you junior? Okay. So congratulations on you completing your education at TSU. And thank you, Mr. Watson, for this opportunity.
So as has been stated by the other judges, I want to commend both groups for presenting to us compelling arguments, as well as your presentation of facts and definitions. But I think that, as the commissioner has said, what brought it home for me was the present impact that the Alabama A&M team was able to make, particularly that last statement, which was what happens when AI uses AI and what happens when AI doesn't need us. And I think that that really drove home the immediacy of the topic. So, but again, all of you did a wonderful job, and I wish you all the best. And what I see is very bright futures for you.
So the award is a $10,000 check payable to Alabama A&M.
Can we get some shots to also like yes. Y'all ready? All right, let me get you guys a squeeze in.
Yeah, I did too, but just in case I can't get it.
All right, count of three. 1, 2, 3. You got them all. Good.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey man, y'all did a great job. We probably should go up there. Yeah, I think y'all should, but I don't know what.
Count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, yes, please, we want y'all.
Yes, the judges. Yeah, the judges. All right, let's get the judges in.
While they're taking pictures, if I could have everyone's attention for a brief moment. While they're taking pictures, if I could have everyone's attention for a brief moment. Lord Watson didn't know I was going to do this. I asked him if I could just say a brief word. On behalf of myself, Morehouse College, and frankly, all of the debate coaches here and all of the HBCUs, there is one important organization that did not get a thank you. I think we all owe an incredible debt of gratitude to the Penny Foundation. for putting on these penny games. So I just wanted to say a brief word of thank you to Lord Watson, to LB, and all their hard work and their commitment to organizing, to their commitment to organize and support debate amongst HBCUs. We know as coaches and as debaters that HBCUs exist in a debate space that has its own challenges. We face funding challenges. We face administrative challenges with trying to get support. We face challenges with our fellow HBCUs trying to grow and trying to develop their own debate programs. I know all of my fellow coaches would like to see more participation. It's a shame that we have 105 HBCUs, but we probably only have 12 or 13 who have competitive speech and debate programs. And it's programs like this that are sponsored by the Penny Foundation that provide financial support, because we didn't have to pay for anything to come to this. It wasn't a tax on our budget. They covered our hotel, they covered our food, they covered our transportation. And the fact that they provided this type of financial support to create additional opportunities for our students is something that I know I deeply appreciate, and I know all my fellow coaches deeply appreciate. And I hope that the Penny Foundation will continue to support initiatives like this that help Black and brown students here in Alabama, and that help HBCUs nationally to help grow and develop their support, their debate programs. So thank you so much. You are appreciated.
Hey, hello everybody. I am the Speech and Debate Director at Tennessee State University. First, I obviously want to say thank you to the Penny Foundation, thank you to the sponsors, thank you to the donors, anybody that has any type of investment in speech and debate and the growth of speech and debate in Alabama. We appreciate you. And the fact that we're all here to celebrate the growth of speech and debate in this region, it really speaks to what we all value and care about. And at Tennessee State University, I've really had the pleasure of seeing the growth of speech and debate and what speech and debate can do in the lives of these students. I've seen students who, have gone from being shy to advocates, so this is about more than just the competition. It's about more than just the trophies. And as we continue to support speech and debate in this region, I really want to encourage you all to keep showing up, keep being present for these students, because these are not just the leaders of our future, but these are the leaders of the present. And with your support, there's really no limits to what they can do. I also want to, obviously plug HBCU Nationals. HBCU Nationals will be happening the first weekend in February. I believe it's February the 6th and the 7th. And that is going to be at Texas Southern University this year in Houston. And actually, the majority of the schools that are participating in this competition have participated in HBCU Nats at some point. And we all know that it's more about the competition. It's about making sure that HBCUs that are historically underfunded, unrepresented, forgotten about, we have a space for us. So I encourage you all, to come out, look forward to seeing you. And we're also looking for a host for next year. So we're taking bids, but thank you guys again.
All right, we are getting ready to dismiss. There are at least two more pictures that I want to make sure after we dismiss. I want all of the debaters to come forward and all of the gamers to come forward so we can take one big group picture. And then I want a photo for all of the coaches. Debate needs support. Debate needs coaches. And so we honor the work that you all do in preparing young people to come and to stand and perform. I just want to make sure that I document that. So this year was nice. This year was great. It was growth, but next year is going to be something I can't even imagine. Let me stop. I can imagine, I can see it, but I'm just going to be looking forward to see y'all come back next year. So it's been a great time. Travel safe. Make sure that when you return home that you let us know that you return home and that you're safe. Have a great rest of the semester. I know some of you had midterms this week and what have you, so have a great rest of the semester. And we look forward to seeing you back in Birmingham real soon. Thank you.